So, this is Corpus Christi Sunday. Corpus Christi means the body of Christ, or perhaps more literally, the corpse. That's a bit grim really for a day like today. But hey, what's in a name? A quote from The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown, great book, if you haven't read it, please do, highlights this when he says, "Don't tell anyone, but on the pagan day of the sun god Ra, I kneel at the foot of an ancient instrument of torture and consume ritualistic symbols of blood and flesh. And if any of you care to join me, come to the Harvard Chapel on Sunday, kneel beneath the crucifix and take Holy Communion." A whole different way of living. Before I continue, I'm just going to come out and say it. I just don't get it. By that I mean the whole transubstantiation thing. Now try saying that 5 times really quickly. Oh, transubstantiation? No. Yeah, exactly. It's hard enough to say. Where the bread and the wine are actually changed into the body and blood of Christ when they are blessed. Sounds a bit too Harry Potter for me. A bit like Mrs. McGonagall's gone round with her wand, changing the elements into something else. That said, there are many who do believe that the bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ, while still looking like and tasting like bread and wine. I'm not convinced, but then it has been central to the Catholic religion for centuries. However, there are many who say that this changing, this transformation, is a relatively recent thing. The word transubstantiation, that one, was first used in the 13th century. But others point to various papers and writings that say that others believed it earlier than that, but just hadn't given it a decent name. So it probably just didn't get into the local vernacular. Whatever the history of the word, or of the practice, I can only speak about my own feelings, thoughts or ideas around it. And they are probably not mainstream. Mind you, I don't know, I mean I've never actually done a poll. Firstly, eating someone's body and drinking their blood, to take into yourself something of their essence. That isn't unique to the Catholic Church. They weren't the first ones to come up with that idea, actually. Far from it. Throughout history, indigenous peoples worldwide have believed that eating an enemy's heart or drinking their blood would either give them their strength, or at the very least prevent them from going to whatever afterlife they believed in and attacking them from there. Other tribal cultures believed that eating an animal's heart would give them some aspects of the animal: cunning, speed, strength. So, in that way, the concept is not as far out as it might first seem. It has, as they like to say in the antique trade, provenance. Truly, there is nothing new under the sun. Secondly, if you truly believe that this miraculous transformation takes place, would you go ahead with communion? Eating human flesh, drinking human blood? Not me, no. Too yucky. Although, saying that, ritual cannibalism has been around throughout history, even long before Christ arrived. Even among these supposedly civilized Egyptians, it was not uncommon. So who knows, maybe you would go ahead if you seriously thought it was flesh and blood. Thirdly, if it is, as some say, to take into yourself the essence of Christ, shouldn't those who do it be more holy? I mean, shouldn't they be more like Christ? Somehow nicer, kinder, wiser, more loving? Maybe they are. But if that's the case, why do you need to do it weekly? Does it wear off? Is it a short-term thing? More like a fix than a change? No idea. Like I said before, I just don't get it. So for me, Corpus Christi Sunday is just Sunday, which contains, as does every Sunday, communion. A moment of true connection with Christ, with God. through the ritual of remembrance passed down to us by Christ. Which I think is both more beautiful, in many ways, but also more challenging. After all, if you are eating bits of Christ, then I guess you have to believe that Christ is there, in body. Whereas I believe he is always with us. And after all, he did say, whenever people gather in my name, there I am. You don't need to be eating parts of him, really. I'm certain of one thing, though, and this is without a doubt, that this argument about what Jesus meant when he said those words, this is my body, etc., will rage for many years to come. Possibly right up to the time someone invents a time machine and actually goes back to ask him, what the hell did you mean? Until then, sadly, all we can do is come to our own conclusions, our own understanding of what he said, our own faith. If that happens to be that the elements change, as long as that helps us to be more like Christ, okay, go for it. If it is that communion helps us to connect more closely with Christ, okay, again, as long as that helps us be more like Christ, no problem. You can see the drift here, can't you? Yeah. I really don't have very strong views on it either way. Because I know what I believe. And that is enough for me. I don't need to attack other beliefs or try to impose my own version on them. It isn't a right or wrong situation. It is a matter of faith. And like many other aspects of Christianity, I believe we all need to find our own way, our own version, our own thoughts. With support, yes. With some guidance, maybe. Of course. Yeah. But I truly believe it must be our own unique faith, as unique as each of our relationships are with God. Because one size never fits all, no matter what it says on the packet. One size does not fit. Like many times before, this occasion, this matter of transubstantiation, is another item on my list of things to ask Christ about when I see him. Things I would just like to know a bit more about, to gain a bit of clarity on. Mind you, I find as I go along, and as I reflect more on things, my list is getting pretty long. One last thing, you'll be glad to hear. I can see smiles starting to break out now. Yes, it's over. No, not quite. And this is just some random thoughts that came to me. Christ to me always seemed to be quite a practical sort. He always seemed to not only teach great spiritual truths, but also gave people a good dose of common sense. So my thought is, if he was to grant a power to change stuff into other stuff, would he really make it so we could change food and drink into flesh and blood? I mean, wouldn't him being able to change rocks into food and drink be more useful? Something that would relieve suffering, hunger, famine? That seems more useful to me. Furthermore, as Christ was a big one for empowerment, for equality, why is it that only ordained priests can perform this miraculous act? Just a few thoughts that came to me that make me maybe a little suspicious of the origin and use of transubstantiation. Since it appears to be yet another thing that separates the clergy, priesthood, vicars, church leaders, whatever you want to call it, from the laity, congregation, believers, etc. Which, to me, seems completely at odds with the overall message of Christ. So, I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to stick with my beliefs, my thoughts on this thorny subject, because that's all I can do. And whilst I respect other beliefs, other thoughts, other faiths around this magical event, I am firmly on the side of, nah, just not for me. But don't just accept what I say. Make up your own minds. Follow your own paths. Come to your own faith, in your own time, in your own way. That is what I believe Christ truly wanted for us. to be our own truly unique, truly beautiful selves. Not just followers, but individuals with our own views, our own thoughts, our own beliefs, and yes, our very own unique version of faith. Thank you.